The Jets have been busy with some visits. What do they all mean? Who are their top targets? We dive in with one of the best in the business right now on Boy Green Daily.
Zoinks! It is unequivocally the Super Bowl for New York Jet fans.
Field Yates, baby. Field Gosh darn Yates. Let's bring him on the show.
Come on, people. Connor Rogers is joining the show. What's up, Connor? But Trevor Gosh darn Sycamore, baby, for me, personally, my favorite New York Jet of all time.
Wow, it's great to be on. What an intro that was right there.
Paul, nobody does an intro like you, man.
Paul, you give the best intro of literally any podcast that I've ever been.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas.
What's poppin', everybody? Paul Eston Jr. We are live, baby, for Boy Green Daily, as we are every single day, live at 7:30 in the morning. We're streaming live on the Heavy on Jets channel, so shout out to our overlords, and YouTube and Twitter are my personal accounts. Welcome to the show. It's a daily New York Jets show. You can also find available wherever you get your podcast as well in the audio-only version. And as we're streaming this live on Monday, March 25th, Robert Saleh, the head coach of the New York Jets, is set to speak at the annual league meetings in about 15 minutes live. So if anything crazy, I guess, comes in while we're doing the show, we will let you know. But more details and content on that to come. But it is a Monday, a mock draft Monday, a New York Jets drafty Monday, and that's what we've been doing on the channel for many months. Let's bring in the architect of Project Prospect, a direct link in the YouTube description down below. Dom C joins us here on the program. Good morning, Dom C.
Morning, Boy Green. How are you, bud?
I'm doing swell, and I think this was a good pivot for this week. We've done a lot of juicy mock drafts, and fans have thrown their, anything blunt and hard objects at you every time they see mock drafts.
People still take the mock drafts too seriously, and they look at the mock without listening or watching the show where we say, hey, what if we did this and this would happen, so on and so forth.
Yeah,
but it's okay. Love you guys.
It's all right. That's right. So let's go to a good pivot, and it's this. Now, people hear about this all the time, so I think it's it's a worthy explanation for the top 30 visits for non-draft people that watch the show. And each NFL team is allowed to bring in 30 prospects, and these are not locals. That list is even bigger for the local people, direct connections there. But beyond that, the Jets have an opportunity to bring in some talent, and so do all the other NFL teams. And sometimes we could draw a few conclusions. Here's a quick write-up from Yahoo Sports to describe what a top 30 visit is. It's leading up to the draft. All 32 NFL teams are allowed to bring 30 players on individual visits to their facilities for a private meeting. A team's top 30 visit list is for exclusive players the team is interested in drafting, or maybe not, as I heard once from Randy Mueller, who likes to throw people off the scent potentially. Correct. So there's a lot of notes and quotes to get into your Dom C. And I'm looking at your Twitter account. People can follow you on Twitter at DC_NY Jets. And you have the top 30 visits here listed. Let's start with the quarterback position, Jordan Travis, because I know you feel a particular type of way about Mr. Jordan Travis, Dom C.
Yes, so I do. Listen, there's 4 updated, and I'm going to try to keep this on a rolling tab as I get information. I'm going to try to keep refreshing this. So as of now, there's 4 visits or 4 top 30 scheduled. There could be more, but I have my hands on 4 of them. Jordan Travis is an interesting one, man. Listen, call it what it is. I can only use my eyes, Boy Green. I'm not the hugest fan. Obviously, there's more to it. There's the fact that he's 24 years old already. Will be 25 when the season starts. There's the fact that he's coming off of a really, really, pretty bad injury. A broken tibia. That he suffered a displaced fracture. I think,
just a quick correction real quick. He's 23. He will turn 24 ahead of this season. His birthday's in May.
Apologize about that. I thought he was 24 going to be 25. So 23 will be 24. Still a little bit older for that developmental type that you like. Again, good, if you look at just the stats, Boy Green,
Mhm.
He's good. The stats, the stats last year, showed what they did. They showed what they showed. I think I got him here.
Yeah.
20 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, over
Wow.
2,700 yards.
Nice.
Yeah, there's a lot more if you dive into it. Like, I just don't know how he's going to adjust or really fix some of the accuracy issues that he had in college. To
I see.
me, I think that's the biggest concern that I have with Jordan Travis. Let me pull this up
Okay.
here. Boom, bada boom.
Yeah,
Is
please.
that he's more athlete right now than he is quarterback. And
Okay.
like I said, that might work in college. To me, that's a problem in the NFL. I
Mm.
think that's a problem in the NFL. At least I see it as a problem as the NFL. So,
Okay.
again, a little bit low. He's roughly about, yeah. I mean, 7. He looks towards the middle of the field about 22% of the time. So to me, that's everything's either deep shot, cover 2 shots up the sideline, or
Mhm.
flank, or dump ball, so on and so forth. Again, little analytical things that you know kind of tie into what I didn't like when he works over the middle of the field. He's always a little bit of step behind the receiver, step ahead. Sees, he's got a lot of pressure. He gets a lot of self-induced pressure by trying to extend stuff. He'll roll into pressure, roll into sacks, and so on and so forth. Listen, best case scenario, and this is my opinion. I could be wrong, and if he's a Jet, I'm going to
Yeah. Yeah.
form hole and hole. But best case scenario, I see him like a Tyler Huntley. That
Mm.
type of quarterback.
Oh,
Now, where it's
so
gonna
Pro
be
Bowl quarterback. A Pro Bowl quarterback.
Pro Bowl quarterback. Yeah, that's right. Listen, in a good situation, he's mobile enough, and he's got a live enough arm. I don't know if he can make every NFL throw. I don't know if he can make every NFL read.
Mhm.
But I'm sure he can. He'll be a serviceable backup in the league, just like Tyler Huntley.
Yeah, I've said it before. The most prominent example in my past is Josh Allen, the quarterback.
Mhm.
Leading into that 2018 NFL draft, I think the majority of the Jets fan base did not want Josh Allen because of the accuracy issues. They weren't sure how that was going to translate. And I will be honest, I was front and center. I did not want him. But I said to myself, if the Jets shock the world here, again, they had already moved up to 3, and who knew who was going to be available at 3. I convinced not convinced myself. I just said, like, you know what? Even if they take Josh Allen and I don't feel great about it as a fan going in, I'm just going to embrace the kid. And I just wanted to be successful. Obviously, why would I root against someone to not have success with the
Correct.
Jets? So even if Jordan Travis for you, or it's going to be a lot of prospects for other people, no one's going to be happy. If you get a prospect in for the Jets, whether it's first round, 7th round, whatever, your best ploy as a Jets fan, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but your best ploy is to embrace that player and hope that you were wrong and hope there was success. And look at Josh Allen, look what he did. I was dead wrong. I couldn't have been more wrong on him in his development. So I think that's the proper, mentality to have. I love all these conversations leading in about people loving guys, hating guys. Great, awesome. But at the end of the day, hopefully we can all wrap our arms around whoever the hell the Jets draft at 10, 72, and everywhere else in between.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Couldn't have said
So,
it
by
better.
the way, what is the draft stock for Jordan Travis? Because I think that's going to be an interesting point here for some of these visits the Jets have scheduled. Because again, it could be, as Randy Mueller, former NFL GM, has said, sometimes they did visits to throw off other teams and shift interest here or there. But I would say the majority of the time is probably legitimate interest. And if that's
Yeah.
true, because you want to find out more intel, where is the draft stock for Jordan Travis, especially coming off a very serious injury late in the season?
Well, I think his ceiling is going to be day 3, probably round 4.
Wow. Okay.
I think that the floor is probably going to be around 5, 6. I mean, I think I get a draftable grade on him. I don't have a good draftable grade on him, but he's not in the undrafted free agent realm for me. I think. Like I said, this draft I think is going to be a little bit weird. I think people are going to be pushed up a little bit more. The lack of committed or declared juniors is going to make the 7th round a little bit crazy. So Jordan Travis is probably going to be, listen, if he landed in the 4th round, and if we're talking Jet specific, that's where we have 2 picks. So I think
Correct.
you can I think if we kept everything as is, you can utilize one of those 2 picks to kind of take your dart throw, if you will. A player
Okay.
that you might take or might draft or might reach on a little bit early. And remember also, Paul, that quarterbacks are always overdrafted.
Yeah,
Always
of course.
overdrafted. Even the
Naturally.
bad ones are usually overdrafted. So
Yeah.
I think fourth or fifth round is probably the landing spot. Now the question is, how healthy is he? I know
Mhm.
that he showed up at some of the bowl games, and he did the interview portion,
Right.
very similar to what Hendon Hooker did last year at the Senior Bowl. If you remember, Hendon Hooker, the Tennessee
Yes, of
quarterback,
course.
hurt
Mhm.
blew his knee out, and he showed up and he took all the all the interviews with all the teams. He ended up going in the third round. He was probably a second round talent that went in the third round. So is Jordan Jarvis a third round talent that's going to drop to the fourth? Maybe. I'd probably say more so Jet specific. I think you can kind of circle the fourth because we have the extra pick. Every other team,
Correct.
probably the fourth or fifth, depending on how that leg is. He was on camera at the pro day throwing deep, throwing these rainbow, beautiful back shoulder passes 50 yards in the air, but he also wasn't dropping back. He was doing it,
Mm.
kind of just a stepping flat foot. So that he's not running yet. If he tests out, physically, he'll get drafted. He might have a redshirt season. I don't know if that's in the Jets' cards, or maybe that's exactly what the Jets are looking for.
Yeah, sure.
A developmental guy that they can kind of park on the IR or IL injured list for the season, so on and so forth. So.
Yeah, could make a lot of sense as the QB3. If, of course, Rodgers and Tyrod stays healthy, he could be plugged in as a developmental QB3. The Jets, by the way, have pick 111 and 134 in the fourth round, respectively. 49ers, messing around with some pay wages, got the Jets bumped up an extra selection in the fourth round. So
Correct.
not too shabby. Thank you, San Francisco, for fudging the numbers. We
Yeah.
appreciate it. We'll see what kind of impact that has in the draft. Let's go to a couple of wide receivers of great interest. We have Jerry Rice's kid, Brendan Rice, the wide receiver at USC, also scheduled for a top 30 visit with the Jets, and Roman Wilson, the wide receiver out of Michigan, who I would say a lot of Jet fans are all over Roman Wilson. You have Rich Eisen, the super Michigan Jet fan, so that gets pumped up a lot. And then obviously, for obvious reasons, Brendan Rice being the son of Jerry Rice. So what's your take on both of these kids?
So Brendan Rice is I'll start there. Like I said, I like both receivers. I like both players. It's funny though because they're two really different players, which is fine. They're going to see, which one they're bringing these guys in. At least they're talking to some skill position depth. Now, Brendan Rice, I think, can probably be there for us in that pick 72 in that third round, top of the third round guy. He's a little bit redundant size-wise to what you got in Mike Williams, but they play a little bit different. So to me, I would love having a guy like Brendan Rice, understanding that he's probably not, going to mark up or mark in right now as a starter opposite Garrett Wilson. Because you give him a little, I still think that he's got a little bit of learning, a little bit of splaining to do in some of his games. Like I said, he's your prototypical X-boundary type receiver, 6'2" or 6'2.5", probably about 205, 210 pounds. He's got good frame. He's got good catch radius. He combines that length and stuff to really go up and pluck the ball, hands catcher. Like I said, he's got good straight line speed. I don't know if he's he's not the most nuanced in terms of creating his own separation off of his movement, sinking his hips and breaking. He's not he doesn't have the most wiggle. But if you ask him to run goes, you ask him to, put a foot in the ground and hit a comeback. You ask him to put a foot in the ground and hit a slant. Think of your big prototypical X receivers back in the day. Think of the routes they ran. That's what you're going to ask Brendan Rice to do, right? He also brings some return experience. He can add some depth there. Like I said, the caveat with him is he lacks a little bit of the that wiggle, that short area quickness, that agility that you would hope to in this day and age, in the way football has developed, that you look for guys to get. So he's not going to create a whole ton of separation. I worry how he'll create separation against tough press man coverage on the line. he might be a guy that ends up being forced into, forced into motion, forced into playing the Z so that you can create separation for him. Or he might just end up being one of those, just one of your go guys, where he's a deep threat. I don't think that's the case. Like I said, I think his overall skill is probably a lot more than, say, and I use his name as an example, he's not Marquez Valdez Scantling, who just runs goes and speed and not, I think he's a big possession receiver. Liken him a lot to, a little bit of a faster Allen Robinson, maybe a guy like Romeo Dobbs from Green Bay. Those type of receivers always will be complimentary, never going to be your alpha dog, but a possession type receiver that, think Herman Moore back in the day. Are you too old? Are you too young to remember Herman Moore?
Slightly too young. Yes.
Oh man. Well, Herman Moore was really big. That's, Rice isn't that big, but he's that kind of guy. He's a true possession receiver, which is nothing wrong with it when you have some separator on the other side and Garrett Wilson. So
sure.
I know that they've been linked to Brendan Rice a lot, so I think there's some interest there for sure.
Ooh, okay.
And I think that
real quick before you get to Roman, I just want to say, will we be saying this question out loud if the Jets bring him in? Jerry who? Will we be saying that after Brendan makes a couple of plays?
That's
Jerry
right,
Rice
hopefully.
who? Okay. All right.
Your mouth to God's ears, man, right?
And Roman Wilson, what about the Michigan product? Will he even be potentially on the board at 72, or is he going to go higher than that?
No. So again, now we start getting into some of the interesting ones, like Roman Wilson. Like, he's not going to be on the board. I
see.
This is a guy that's probably, listen. Could he? I shouldn't say that. Could he slip to 72? Yes. It's a very, very small possibility. Like, I think that. I think you're going to start seeing some names, and I think you did in some of these players like Roman Wilson and Marshawn Nealon, like we'll talk about, and so on and so forth, and some of their official visits, maybe not top 30 visits that they've had already, with guys that are like, well, he's projected to go at the bottom of the first round or the top of the second round. Why are we even interviewing him? Well, maybe they're dipping their toes in all the waters of the player pool who will be there if they say, oh, you know what, we got a deal we can't turn down. We're going to trade down and we're going to add a second round or so on and so forth. And to me, that's where Roman Wilson falls in. I think he's a day two, first half of the day two kind of pick. So to me, I lock him in the second round. Coming from that Michigan offense, kind of flew under the radar. Everyone's like, oh, he's small. He's going to just another slot receiver. Didn't really do a lot in college. And then as Michigan went on before they became national champions, you realize why he didn't do a lot in college and why the quarterback J.J. McCarthy didn't do a lot in college, because they weren't really asked to. You had Jim Harbaugh, pounding the rock. But when he was on the field and when he was asked to make plays, he did it. And man, that's the best thing. Like in my scouting report for Roman Wilson, the first two notes I have is electric playmaker. Those are the first two words that I have written for him. Again, game-changing speed, the antithesis of Brendan Rice, because he is all full of piss and vinegar and those short area quicks, man. He's all over the place, pop, 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 that kind of guy. But, again, 5'11-ish, sub 200 pounds. You say, okay, is he going to be, the next Braxton Berrios? Is he just going to be in the slot? No. He can get up and, he can get up on the line. He can has a ridiculous, fast, good quickness, good release package, can beat press man coverage. And Paul, the guy catches everything. You watch his film. I like that. You watch his film. Doesn't matter if the ball's underthrown, overthrown, hits him in stride. Again, not the longest guy in the world, right? His arm length is only 30 inches. That puts his wingspan, really, really small. Yeah, exactly. Big hands, ran okay, very good 20-yard shuttle time, which, obviously we expected from him with that, that ridiculous short area quickness. I liken him a lot to, again, I'm going back to the Packers, but you talk about Jaden Reed from last year. I know he came out of nowhere, but just a similar kind of guy. Like you watched him in the Senior Bowl, and he caught everything. Jaden Reed was like the apple of everyone's eye. And again, he came into there thinking, oh, well, this guy's going to be a slot. No, maybe he cannot play. Roman Wilson's just like that, man. Roman Wilson is going. You can line him up at Z. You can line him up in the slot. You can put him in the backfield, not to maybe hand off the ball, but let him run some of those, some of those out, some of those balls where you can get him out in space. He creates separation. He catches everything thrown at him. To me, he would be a home run selection for the Jets. If there was a way, he's my 6th or 7th wide receiver on the, in the entire class. I think he's going to be a really, really good pro. I think he's going to start paying dividends to the team that drafts him from day one. Perfect complement to the 2 receivers that we have in here now, because you can flip flop him and Garrett in the slot and at the Z and play the matchups, man. Oh, chef's kiss, man. Roman Wilson.
Okay. Home run, Roman Wilson. I'm just putting that on my sheet here. That's very nice. I like that. So you said there's a chance. There's a chance potentially that Roman Wilson's on the board. We just got a super chat in on a receiver. I'm curious the chance that this receiver's on the board at 72. Phil with a YouTube super chat in. Any chance we get Ladd McConkey? How good is he, and where's he going in the draft there, Tomsy?
Ladd McConkey is very good. And do I think that we'll get him? No, I don't. The only reason why is, like, listen, he's gonna probably go. I'd say if he doesn't go in the end of the first round to say a Baltimore or a Kansas City, which is 2 places I think he could land, I think he's gonna go very quickly in the second round, like Carolina or Arizona, if they happen to pass on on Marvin Harrison or New England. I don't think he's going to make it out of the 30s.
I see.
So,
wow. Okay.
So to me he's a top 40 pick, easy lock, stock and barrel. So no, I don't think the Jets are going to draft far enough down where he's going to be in range. I just say, I'm making this up here, guys. Just say absolutely, the Jets trade down to 20 to Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
I'm making it up.
Yeah.
There's probably other receivers that you're going to take over guys like him. And if they, acquire an early second rounder somehow, I don't know how they're going to do that. So I just think he's going to be off the board. But Ladd McConkey's very good. I happen to like Roman Wilson a little bit better. I know I'm in the minority there.
Okay.
But either of them are going to have very, very long. They're both going to have very long, successful careers, and I wish them nothing but the best. I happen to side a little bit more with Roman Wilson. I think he's even just, that much more impressive. Winning at all 3 levels of the field is even, they might be similar in stature, similar in size. I think Roman Wilson's a little bit more durable. So, so I would side with Roman Wilson over Ladd McConkey, but not saying McConkey's bad at all.
I appreciate that. Thank you for the YouTube super chat, Phil. Anytime you guys want to send those in, we will slip those in, no question about it. But I see one more top 30 visit that the New York Jets have scheduled, and it's on the defensive side of the football. And, and let me make sure I'm pronouncing this right. Mohamed Kamara, is that right?
Mohamed Kamara, yes.
Wow.
New Jersey, born and bred.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Homecoming.
So this is an interesting one. So, this is a pick that I really, really, really like, and I could absolutely see, to me, like, all right, you say, we talked about Roman Wilson, we talked about Jordan Travis, and you can make an argument that a 3rd-string quarterback might make sense. You can make an argument that a weapon might make sense in the 2 opposites, but like this one for me absolutely makes sense, because I still think, barring any, more free agent signings, and let's see what happens with Jadeveon Clowney. But even with that, I think there's a selection like Mohamed Kamara can make absolute sense. New Jersey born and bred guy is strong as an ox. Like he's got like mutant, Thor strength kind of stuff. Built like a brick. He's, real low center of gravity. He's only about 6'1.5", about 250 pounds. But he plays with a low center of gravity. He plays with his hair on fire. He's just a constant motor. He's your traditional power rushing 4-3 end in the league. Again, bad comp. I'm trying to use guys that your Jets followers will familiarize themselves.
Sure.
He's a little bit more JFM than he is Bryce Huff. He doesn't have the get off. He doesn't have that those that ridiculous like twitchy bendy stuff around
Like an
the end.
elite thing like that.
He doesn't have that elite bendiness, but man, he gets at you, and he gets at you hard. He plays with ferocity. He plays with violence. I think, like I said, this is a guy that I would take, and even if he and we're not talking early, you're talking.
What's the draft range for this kid?
Ceiling is probably round 3. Floor is probably more like round 5. Somewhere in third day 3 guy. I think. Well, listen, the size and the length is gonna hinder him, and his play style is gonna kind of not be everyone's cup of tea. But for me, like I said, it's JFM light, man. And you can get him in there. He'll lock up and he'll seal the edge, and he can play the run very good. Like I said, super strong hands. He knows how to use them. You need to have him build kind of a little bit more of a pass rush repertoire. But I think he can get, he can offer something as a rotational defensive end piece, similar to, the output that Michael Clemens has put in the past 2 years, right? Think of a player like that starts like that, and then could, again, ascend to a starting role. That's what you're looking for in a 4th round defensive end, especially one where Jeff Ulbrich and Robert Saleh like to rotate these guys. But man, he is really fun to watch. And like I said, needs a little bit more technical savvy in his pass rush plan and his pass rush game, but there's not a lot of guys that can just, put his bull rush to a halt or stop those violent hands. Great, long enough, like I said, short, but long enough. Again, 64 pressures and 14 sacks last year,
insane production.
A true pass rush win rate, that was 4th in the nation. It's production. This is a guy that just gets at it. Again, Colorado State, who do they play? They played, the same teams at USC, and I believe, are they still Pac-10? Colorado State?
That's a good question. I have to double check that now, because I think we have to check that for everybody. So I will get you that information. One second.
But I mean, the numbers are what they are. And like I said, I don't think he's a Bryce Huff replacement. I want to say that clearly. They are two completely different types of ends. But I think you can bring him in, and I think that you can, that you can groom him to be your heir apparent to JFM.
Colorado State is Mountain West. West is what I have here.
Still putting that that in. Again, he can come in. He can be your, down and distance, stalwart. He can be a situational pass rusher. Just understand that it's going to be a different kind of pass rush than we had with Bryce Huff. He's not going to, his get off isn't what Bryce Huff is yet, but is anyone in the lead? Think, like I said, JFM light, think Uchenna Nwosu from Seattle, like those kind of guys.
I love that kid.
Those real physical guys that are going to come in and play nasty. That's Muhammad Kamara. And he's a homegrown kid, man. How do you not root for a Jersey boy or a New York boy?
Yeah, that's always one of my favorites, when you could get those connective, again, the Jeremy Ruckert story, when those naturally and organically can kind of happen, it makes it even better and easier to root for. So those are the top 30 visits currently scheduled, but I'd highly recommend following Dom C on Twitter at DC_New York Jets, because he also has the list. He quote tweeted it this week as well, where you can see the pro day meetings and private workouts that were completed, the combine interviews that are formal, the all-star circuit meetings. So a lot of juicy intel that Dom C says he will continue to update throughout this process. So I'm really looking forward to that, because we want to kind of know what the Jets are thinking. What's the thought process there?
And as I get this information, I will keep updating this list. And like I said, it's good. If nothing more, it's good information to have. So if you say, who the heck is Jaden Hicks from Washington State? Let me go look him up, or let me, click on the old Google machine or whatnot. Like, if nothing more, take that from it. Get a feel on what JD is trying to do. I mean, I'm going to say this. You take this as you will, Paul. One, two, three, four, five, six committed visits or scheduled visits with quarterbacks.
Interesting.
Interesting. Take
Why
what
don't
you will
we-
with take what you want with that. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Will do. All right, Dom C. Thanks as always for another Monday. And let me make sure I have my schedule correct here. Let me pull up the calendar. Next week you have off, but we have hired a mercenary to come in and
Oh,
fill in your place for that hole. So we will miss you next week to kick off the month of April, pal.
I will be on
But
vacation, but I will
yeah.
be ready to put the pedal to the metal and go mode when I get back, Paul.
Which will be great. So he'll be, again, Dom C. normally joins us every Monday, and he has throughout the offseason, but he's going on a well-deserved vacation. R&R, baby. We'll have a different draft analyst joining us for next Monday. I'll keep that under wraps, but it's a fun guy that we've had on in the shows past. So more details on that. But Dom C., enjoy some much-deserved R&R time, brother, and we're looking forward to seeing you a little later in April.
I appreciate it, Paul. Thank you always. Thank you, chat.
All right. We'll see you guys later. For Boy Green Daily, we're signing off. Thanks, everybody.